Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to TerraGenesis. For those of you joining me for the first time ever, my name is Sabouts, and if you're returning to my channel for another series, I'd like to welcome you back. I've covered TerraGenesis on the channel in the past, and I'm very excited to finally be getting back into it with another challenge, one that you guys had voted for when I posted it on my community tab a while back. Now, if you're not familiar with TerraGenesis, it is a game where you essentially are trying to terraform a planet. You can download it on your mobile device, iOS or Android. And what's most important to note is that they just recently released a 5.0 update, which was a massive update and changed just unbelievable amounts of the game. It added new content, it altered things, different scenarios, and all sorts of really cool things. And this is going to be my first time playing with the new update and my first time checking it out and seeing what it has to offer. So I'm really excited. Let's go ahead and get into it. We're gonna start a new game here. So we're gonna go for a random planet. So that was what you guys actually wanted to see. A completely random generated world. So we'll just go ahead and click right on that. And I think the best way to handle anything random is to just pick a number. So we're going to reload the planet 3 times, and then whatever we get the 3rd time, that's going to be the planet we're going to work with. We're not going to be allowed to reload it again. I think that'll make it most interesting. So we'll consider this load number 1, and then load number 2. And we'll just kind of look at some of these. So this ended up being more of an arid planet, it looks like. Not bad. It's got 1 moon. All right, and we're going for load number 3. This load number 3 is going to be the planet that we're going to keep. So whatever it is, we're stuck with it. Hopefully, or at least my hope, is that we get a planet with some moons, because we could utilize a moon. Let's go ahead and reload. Migral, okay. And we got 1 moon. It's a tiny moon. This is going to be an interesting planet. Elevation range, okay, we got ideal sea levels. And essentially the only thing this planet has is it's got temperature. It's pretty much a moon. So we'll go ahead and we'll load up a new game in it. Now, something new with this is you actually get to select your nation, but you'll see here that it's a little bit different than before, because now you have these associated characters. Now, I always usually pick the Horizon Corporation. They're just the ones I enjoy playing the most. They got a lot of bonuses for wealth and income. So that's usually my go-to, because money's kind of can be a big thing here. So, but since this is the new 5.0 update, let's go take a look at all of these different factions. I won't read all of this. You could pause the video if you'd like to read that, but I'll go over their details. So they value wealth. They get a 30% financial growth, but a minus 30% to research speed. Their government is a plutocracy. They get 15% financial growth from that, but minus 15% population growth. They cannot choose knowledge values. Satellite, reduced cost for orbital surveyor. Victory, achieve independence and reach 1 billion credits in revenue. That's a lot of revenue. So you can see now that as opposed to the previous updates, or before 5.0 I should say, where victory was just reaching independence, they've now changed it so that each corporation has its own victory condition on top of achieving independence, which is going to make it just a little bit harder for us. Now we've got the United Nations Space Administration. So the Horizon Corporation is pretty obvious what it is. It's a corporation, some type of mega corporation. But the United Nations Space Administration is like a conglomerate of nations from Earth. And you could read this if you'd like. So the faction details, they get democracy, which gives them a plus 30% population growth and a minus 30% financial growth. These guys are not good money makers, but they definitely will help boost your population, which I will say is pretty useful, because population is what you usually need to get culture points, and culture points are what you spend to achieve independence. But we'll go more into that as we get into the game. Their values, they get a 50% research bonus, but minus 15% population growth. So these guys are terrible if you need to make money. They cannot choose a plutocratic government. So you can choose other governments, which is something new, and we'll get into that here soon. And Victory, or I'm sorry, the satellite, they reduced costs for the Lagrange Academy, and Victory achieve independence and reach 500 million population. It's a lot of population. I don't think I've ever had 500 million on any of my planets. Then you got the Sons of Hephaestus, I believe, or some type of Greek god. Their eco policy is conservation. They get plus 30% habitations, minus 30% biomass growth. They're industrial. They get construction speed, but they lose biomass growth. So it's essentially like an industrious class. They're like building factories and such. They cannot choose transformation eco policy. They get reduced cost for a sky farm. They achieve independence and retain starting habitability. So they don't want to retain starting habitability. I'm not sure. I actually don't know what that means. Achieve independence and retain starting habitability. Then we've got the Daughters of Gaia. I think, yeah, the changing starting habitability, they don't want to change the planet. I think if I read this. Yeah, methods that do not contaminate the host planet. Pioneers of advanced habitations, the Suns have members in nearly every known off-world society. I apologize, I should have read that then to understand it. Yes, they don't want to change the planet. You just want to retain your starting habitability. Then we've got the Daughters of Gaia. Now, they obviously want to transform the planet into like a paradise, maybe like what Earth was, before humans, I don't know, polluted a lot of it. They've got ecological, so plus 30% biomass growth, minus 30% construction speed. They're going to take a construction hit there. They get 15% biomass growth plus and minus 15% on habitations. They cannot choose industrial economics. They get a reduced cost for the Soleta satellite. They achieve independence and achieve paradise habitability. Paradise habitability. So those are going to be the factions. Now, I'm actually still going to stick with the Horizon Corporation. They're kind of my trusty go-to. And with this kind of new stuff here with the financial stuff and the achieve independence and reach 1 billion credits in revenue, I'd like to try it and see how it goes with that. I think it's going to be very difficult. So we're going to choose the Horizon. Now, we're going to go with expert difficulty because that's how I enjoy playing the game. There's been so many changes that I feel like I'll miss out if I don't do the expert. It even says intense gameplay and unique challenges. So we're going to try it out. Ecosystem, biomass, recommended for new and casual players to splice genes and create new species. The Biosphere, it's a more complicated way to play the game. We'll see it as we go into it. Hopefully I can explain it. I don't know how much it's changed or if it's changed at all, but we will see. Tutorial is disabled. Let's begin the game. All right, so here we are on our planet. We can go over a couple of these things here so you can guys see what you start out with and what we've got. So we started out with 5 million credits, essentially our cash there, and we've got 20 Genesis points. Now, Genesis points are a currency you can purchase in the game, which you can use to get boosts on construction and such. This is a mobile game after all. But you go to the store here and purchase them, but you don't have to purchase Genesis points. You can obtain them by watching ads similar to the one that popped up, and the ads can also sometimes give you other boosts like mining revenue boost, etc., etc. It's really not that bad. It's not as bad as it sounds. The ads are short, they're sweet, they're to the point, and you get a reward for them. You do not need Genesis points to play the game. If you're patient like me, you can just casually play the game and log into your planet every now and again, and you can just play along without spending a single dollar on any Genesis points. There's no barriers to the game. There's nothing to stop you from playing. You can just jump right into it. Now, the other thing I want to point out really quickly before we do heavily start to get into it is we can look at our planet here. You can see there's nothing really too exciting about this planet. It's definitely just a moon. Is this water? I doubt it. I don't even know what this is. It might be a little bit of water, but I can tell you it's probably frozen. Well, it wouldn't be water. It'd be like ice, right? So we got a little bit of ice or something. So there's just about that there. And then the other thing I want to point out is there is a pause feature. So like I mentioned before, if you're waiting for stuff to build, or if you're going away on vacation for like a week, you can always pause the game. Now, obviously, things won't build while it's paused, but at least you won't lose your planet, which is great because I've lost planets in the past before, and it's definitely not fun. If you walk away from the game and the water level keeps rising, you could come back to a giant blue orb with everybody dead. It's happened to me, so just keep that in mind. So this kind of shows you just what it is. I'm not going to play the ad. Obviously, I'm not going to watch an ad during the video, but you can see that if we were to watch it, we would get a mining and culture revenue boost by 200% for an hour, which is not bad at all. All right, so let's get into it. First and foremost, we've got to get this population going up, and you can see that it gives us priorities, and the first priority is to establish a city. So if we go ahead and we click on population, we can see that we can found a new city. There's also a couple of other things here that we can look at, which is kind of cool. I love the way they set this up now so that you can just click on these instead of having to go back and forth. You can see that we've got to eventually research something. We've got to find our city. We've got to find an outpost. There's the whole victory screen here and all this different stuff. I'll go over all of this as we get to it, so don't feel overwhelmed if this is your first time seeing the game. I promise I'll explain everything as I get to it. So first, let's start with founding a city. Definitely the most important thing. We can't have a colonized and terraformed planet without people living on it. So adding a new city will cost 0 credits. Would you like to begin construction now? Your first city will always cost nothing to do. So we'll go ahead and confirm that. It's going to bring us to a map here, which is going to show us the entire world, just kind of flattened out here for your convenience. This is the satellite view. You also get an elevation view. Okay. Really important to note with the elevation view, the dark areas are super high above sea area, or I'm sorry, the light areas. The dark areas are definitely lower than sea level. So you can see, like, if we click here, it's like, 13 kilometers. Say we go into this more gray area, it's 7 kilometers. And then once you start getting these dark areas, 0 centimeters above sea level. So it's a lot lower. Everything's got a sea level, and the darker areas are closer to sea level, and the lighter areas are more mountainous. All right, we actually got a lot of really high areas. This will make for a really unique looking planet when we do get the sea level up. Now, why is this important to you with founding your first city? Obviously, you don't want to find your first city in the bottom of a hole or a trench or whatever. We don't want to found our first city 0 centimeters above sea level, because guess where water's going to appear when you start terraforming the planet? Right inside your city. So you want to find high ground to place your city. Now, my particular tactic, and you don't have to do this, but depending on how you want to play the game, whether it's more strategically or you're trying to terraform and build your own planet and you're trying to sort of role play, can have an effect on where you place your first city. I personally like to place all my cities at the highest points on the map. The reason for that is because if the water level starts rising rapidly due to some sort of event or some sort of scenario, or something happens, one of my plants breaks down and it's just pumping water out into the planet, I want to make sure that I buy myself enough time to counteract that, and that my cities don't automatically go underwater with rising water levels. So I always try to go with higher up areas. As far as I know right now, there's no negative consequence to putting a city high above sea level. That could have changed with the new updates, but I'm not aware of it if it has. It's worked for me in the past, so I'm going to use it for this playthrough. It could bite me. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. So I'm going to go ahead and place my city here. Valencia is our first city, but I'm going to go ahead and change the name of it. I like to eventually name my cities after what they do or what they produce. I'll explain more of that as we get to it. But I'm just going to call my first city Founders. So Founders is the first city. It is going to be 17 kilometers above sea level. And the coordinates, if you're interested, we'll go ahead and build that. It's going to cost us nothing. And there we go. So our city automatically starts with a hab unit. And something I really like about the 5.0 is you actually have missions, and when you complete them, you get rewards, which is pretty cool. So congratulations, you've completed your mission, establish a city. Our reward is 20,000 credits. So that's pretty neat. There's kind of a little bit more emphasis on going towards the missions here, so that way we can hopefully get some stuff done and get ourselves some bonus credits. All right, so now let's go ahead and actually take a look at the city real quick. We can see that it's got a habitation unit, and it starts with 100 population, but that's all it starts with. We're going to want to build some facilities, and if we click, we can see the facilities that we can build. Right now, we can currently build a cooling plant, which will lower the temperature of the planet, or we can build another hab unit and increase our population. So to know what we want to build, we're going to have to actually look at the planet again and see what there is. So currently, it looks like for heat, we actually do have a very high temperature, and our goal is to get down to 287 millikelvins. We're at 352, so not too bad. So the cooling plant actually would be beneficial for us. As opposed to taking a look at pressure, you can see that we have to get up to 100,000 pressure. We're currently at 0. Oxygen, insufficient pressure, so we can't even hold an atmosphere right now because we don't have any pressure. So it's at 0. And water is at 0. Surface water requires at least 600 pascals of pressure. We can't maintain water, it just freezes because there's no atmosphere. So there's going to be two things that are going to be key to getting this moon up and running. The first thing is going to be bringing the temperature down. The second thing is going to be acquiring pressure so we can build an atmosphere. That's going to bring us to our research screen. We go here, we can see there's different categories, and here's pressure here, so we can build ourselves thermal dust. The darker the color of an object, the more light it will absorb and turn into heat. By coating sheets and glaciers of frozen CO2 and specially designed black powder, we can help warm them and begin releasing the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. It's going to cost us 1 million credits, and we will get +4 pressure when we go to build this building. So let's go ahead and research that. It'll take 1 hour and 17 minutes. While we're doing that, we can take a look at some other stuff here. We've still got 4 million credits, and there's still some stuff we have to build. Now, if we go down here to mining resources, you can see that there's other resources we can mine. And I probably should show you mining first before I show you that. So if we go here, we can see that we can found an outpost. Outposts are how you're actually going to generate credit over time. I think right now we're technically generating negative credits. Yes, negative 500 for facility maintenance on our hab unit in Founders. So we're going to want to go up and get an outpost built right now. So that way we can make sure we're generating money and we're not going in a deficit. So adding a new outpost will cost 1 million credits if you'd like to begin construction now. So your first outpost is not free. You do have to spend money to get it. So we'll go ahead. Right here is our city. You can see Founders. This is clearly a very small planet because the city takes up a huge portion of the planet. So it's a good thing that I did not go with the people with population, because it would have been almost impossible to get 500 million people on what is probably the world's smallest planet. It's kind of funny too because it has a moon. So consider this like Pluto, minus the moon part. It's very small though. Okay, so we're going to want to take the same rules as our city here, and we're going to want to build our outposts at a high elevation. Now, knowing that the planet is this small and that our city literally takes up this huge area, you can only build outposts and cities within a certain amount of distance from each other. So if I was trying to build it here, it probably would not let me. But I'm going to, see, cities and outposts can't be built too close together. But it looks like it's still kind of going to let me get fairly close. So that's good. I think we'll go ahead and we'll put our first outpost down here on this peak, 15 kilometers above sea level. I'm not going to worry about changing the name for the outpost because most of them are going to be destroyed eventually, and you'll see what I mean later down the line. But now that we've got the outpost built, we can construct a mine. And this is where we're going to get our money. So basically, we're going to be mining resources from the surface. Now, right now, we can only mine carbon, which is very common, but it's also very cheap. It does not generate a lot of revenue. the best way to mine this, you can take this scanning tool and go around. And if you start to see this bar going up, that means you're getting close to carbon. So you can see like it goes up a little bit there, and then you can focus in, move it around some. Aha, focus in, move it around some. And you're just trying to see what this bar does. Up, look at that. And zone in on as much as you can. You can see it's a pretty good spot. Now, what I like to do is I don't usually mess with the focus tool like this. What I usually do is I just put it at the smallest amount and I go like this. And it doesn't always work on catching the best stuff, but usually you can see just about everything when you get to it. So like, for example, right here, and then you can move these around and you can see there's a really good carbon spot there. So we'll establish a mine. The mines also cost money on top of the outpost. This one's going to cost us 50,000 credits. We're going to go ahead and confirm that. And now based off of how much carbon was there, which there was a pretty good amount there, it'll generate a certain amount of credits per minute, and it'll mine this till it's depleted. This one says it won't deplete for 2 days and 7 hours, and it's getting us 462 credits. So that's pretty good. But the one bad thing about that, obviously, is that it is not getting us in the positive still. So I probably should have grabbed iron before I got thermal dust, but no problem, because I was going to show you guys that, but we'll do that later. I'm going to go ahead then and found one more, not outpost. I'm going to found one more mine. You could put multiple mines in an area. So one more carbon mine that should get us in the positives. So long as I can find a nice one, it's going to generate a good chunk of cash. It looks like right here's maybe as good as it gets. I could make this just a little bigger, just to make sure I'm not missing too much in the outside edges. Those are both about the same. Aha, there's a... There we go. All right, so we'll go ahead and establish a mine here. And every time you build a mine, it's going to cost you more credits. So you got to keep that in mind too. Pun intended. Okay, so now we're generating 889 credits per minute. So if we go back and take a look, we'll see that we are at plus 389 credits, which is awesome. All right, so that's that there, but we're going to have to leave it off since we're out of time. And I'll have to show you guys the rest of this in the next episode. But I'm excited to finally be playing it. And I think we got a pretty good planet for a random one. I'm definitely looking forward to see what we could turn this into. Can we see our city just yet? Should be very faint. Maybe. A very small glow on the planet's surface. Maybe that's it there. Eventually, as your city grows, we probably won't see it. 100 habs is not a lot, or 100 pop. Eventually, as your city grows, you'll be able to see it on the planet's surface, as well as see all the changes that happen to the planet. So definitely excited to see what we could turn this tiny little planet into, and see what she becomes. With that being said, I want to thank you all for joining me. If this is your first on my channel, consider hitting that subscribe button. That way, you can get notified when new videos drop out. And don't forget to leave a like as well if you want to see more content similar to this. Ooh, what's this? So we just got a random event at the end of the video for a credit boost, but I'll show that in the next one. All right, thank you guys for joining me. Hope that you've enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you next time.